Hi, my name is Leanne, and this process is probably going to take about 3 minutes. I'm going to measure wrist extension and flexion, and then flexion of the MP joint and MC joint, and then also ulnar deviation and radial deviation of the wrist. To begin with, I'm going to put the goniometer on the axis, which is right where the triquetrum is, and the fifth metacarpal. And then here we have the olecranon process, which is where the stationary arm will be pointing to. And so it looks like this with the goniometer, stationary arm, movement arm, and this is where the axis sets on the triquetrum. And as she extends her hand up, and I follow the fifth metacarpal, then I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on the ventral part of her hand, and then that will give me the degree of measurement, which is about 85 degrees. And then for wrist flexion, I'm going to have her hold her wrist so that whenever she flexes, I can get full range of motion, and so that it's hanging off the table. And again, I will point this towards the olecranon process for the stationary arm. The axis is at the lateral part of the triquetrum, and the moving arm is at the fifth metacarpal. And it's going to flex, and I'm going to push on the dorsal part of the hand. Make sure the axis stays on the triquetrum and is pointing stationary to the olecranon process, and that gives me an amount of about 75 degrees. And now doing the MC joint, we're going to do the lateral, the fifth metacarpal and MC joint. And by doing that, what I do is I place the axis just above the joint and the movable arm along the metacarpal, and here is a stationary arm that goes along the lateral side of the hand and lateral to the triquetrum, and that gives an amount of, it looks about 88, almost 90 degrees. And then to measure the ulnar radialis, deviations, we're going to start with placing the axis on the capitate carpal and of the wrist, and then place the movable arm on the third metacarpal, and the stationary is going to point up towards the acromion. And this is going to move for ulnar deviation, keeping that on the capitate and the third parallel to the third metacarpal. It gives an amount of, it looks about 55 degrees. And then going into the radial deviation, again parallel to the third metacarpal is where the movable arm is. Leave it the axis where it was again on the capitate, and then the stationary arm towards the olecranon, and then it says also an amount of, looks like 30 degrees. And that is the information with using the goniometer.